Welcome everybody to the Scale Up Show. This is your host, Ryan Staley, and I have a very special guest with me today. I have Liam Patterson. Liam is the founder and CEO of Bidnamic. He's done some really cool things, man. This is actually the fourth company he's founded. Basically, Bidamic is a marketing tech platform that helps retailers unlock the full potential of Google Shopping. I have a feeling you're going to be blown away about what he talks about. Liam, welcome. Happy to have you on the show, man.
Great to be here. Thanks very much.
Yeah. I love the pre-show prep. You're getting into some really cool things. Didn't want to ruin it all by doing it all in the pre-show prep, so we just had to start recording. So real quick, before we get into it, let's do a real quick revenue rundown. Where are you guys at in terms of the stage of your journey in terms of your ARR?
Yeah, exactly. So we're in the kind of tens of millions of ARR. Rapidly scaling up the business. We're going about 5 years, about 120, 130 staff. Big focus on the US. We've got an office now in Austin, Texas. So as well as Leeds in the United Kingdom.
Nice.
And our engineers are remote around Europe, predominantly around the UK.
Love that, man. So what's your primary go-to-market strategy in terms of revenue growth that you leverage?
Yeah, sure. So it's all actually been it's been a lot of outbound. So we've got a big outbound team. So by that we mean email, LinkedIn, and also cold calling as well, just reaching out. We find that a lot of the companies we work with are easy for us to identify. They're on Google Shopping, so we can see that they're spending money, they're investing budget on Google Ads, and we know that they're probably unaware that there is AI technologies built specifically for Google Shopping, specifically for optimizing that journey and maximizing that budget. We find it pretty powerful to get in front of them through outbound is one of the key routes that we do that. Some of the other routes are also events. So we have a big presence at all the major events, whether that's Shop Talk in Vegas, whether that's eTail West or eTail East, so in Palm Springs or Boston, whether that's Chicago, and of course all around the UK and Europe as well. So we pretty much go to all the events, have a really good network there of again getting in front of and raising awareness to e-commerce brands and marketing decision makers. And also inbound has grown as it's still a small go-to-market channel for us, but it is growing as we're getting more recognized in the market and building our SEO positions as well as our paid search positions as well.
Love that. All right, so let's talk about your solution. Can you, and I know you kind of touched upon it a little bit with what you do, can you touch upon a little bit deeper just what exactly it does, who it serves, and how it works in like a verbal paragraph?
Sure, absolutely. So we're specialists at Google Shopping, which is an e-commerce only ad format. So naturally, we work with e-commerce retailers, people that have physical products they're trying to sell online. Google Shopping, if you've seen it yourself, is a carousel of adverts. So when you're looking on Google for an e-commerce product, let's say Nike sneakers, you'll see this carousel of adverts come, typically 5 product images right at the top of Google search. So there's a little image, the price, the website, who's advertising that, and it's free to show up. And when you click on it, it's going to be a cost. And that cost can go from anywhere from 1 or 2 cents to $100 or $200 for a single click. So our technology works out and optimizes exactly how much should they pay. Should it be a few cents or should it be hundreds of dollars? And we do that through scientific insights and learnings and data, which allows us to get really, really smart about how we calculate that bid price, that price to pay for that click from that exact customer on that exact product on that exact search term.
Love that, man. Love the precision. How about are you guys bootstrapped or funded?
So we bootstrapped the business on our own revenues up until about 9 months ago. So for about four years, we bootstrapped the company. We had some angel funding. So our story is a little bit interesting, actually. We actually took around $500,000 into our own e-commerce marketplace. Some big names. So Chris Forrest, who's on the board of Net-a-Porter, huge marketplace here in luxury fashion. A whole host of big name investors, Marion Mayer, who co-founded Booking.com, massive travel website, and again we got some great angel investors on board, built an e-commerce marketplace, got unhealthily addicted to Google Shopping as a revenue channel for that business, and ended up being as we're tech driven business, we ended up creating our own technology. So about several years into that journey, our investors actually said, "Hey, could you use this tech on our portfolio of companies?" And we reluctantly said yes. Eventually gave in, and they were the first clients. So the first 10, 15 clients were referrals. They were referrals from our investors, from those early customers to their networks of founders, and just got rapid adoption. Really, really, actually surprised us the level of growth and improvements of profitability that we unlocked for those retailers, and then that led us to double down on the technology, and it became the core and only business we have today. And then about 9 months ago, we took our first venture capital investment. So from a fund here called Gresham House Ventures of $5 million or £4 million investment into the business.
So why did you do that? Like things were humming, you're killing it, and not that there's anything wrong with it, but we'd just love to hear like why you decided to make the shift from bootstrapping for 4 years and then taking on the funding.
Yeah, exactly. So I think it was really, there was kind of a few kind of things. One was the US market. We knew we already had great adoption from customers, massive evangelists. So whenever we do a trade show, and we were already doing quite a few in the US, we always bring customers with us, and they really help to evangelize the product. And also it's cool to hang out with customers as well, clients. and so that was kind of part of it. Was we knew there was huge demand from the US market. We knew we had to make this bet to open the office in Austin, Texas, scale that local team up. And that was going to take a bit more capital than just the kind of cash reserves we had just from profitably trading the business and scaling the business. And the second one was on technology. We could, there has been a lot of cost increases in terms of salaries within tech. To get that top talent is hyper competitive, and to retain that top talent. And we knew that we had great talent and we had a great roadmap of products. So we knew there was other products we wanted to bring to market. So that was really for R&D and the US expansion as well.
Wow. Okay. So that makes sense. Totally makes sense there. I guess I didn't think about this until we were talking about it in the pre-show. I didn't really think about it until we started going, but obviously there's a lot happening in the space of AI, specifically with Google. How is AI affecting the ad space in Google from your perspective?
Yeah, so right now we've not actually seen any change, if I'm
Really?
totally honest. We
Wow.
also do Bing. We do Bing advertising. So in terms of the Chat Jupiter piece, we've actually seen a lot of interest from advertisers who before would see, okay, Bing, it's a single digit percentage for the vast majority of retailers. So there'd be interest in us running that, but it'd be pretty small. Now there's definitely been a shift of people think, actually, yeah, there's growing demand, there's growing opportunity to capture those clicks and that revenue through Microsoft Bing's platform. However, in terms of even Bing, it's not actually changed in terms of the way they monetize, the way they run their ads campaigns, and we've not seen any real impact on the channel and their performance either. So in terms of how search is changing, I think it will change a lot in the future. But actually, right now, we've not seen that shift even in the heartland of Microsoft Bing.
Wow. Are you seeing any impact in terms of traffic at all?
No, not at all. No.
Really? Okay.
Yeah.
That's interesting. That kind of surprises me,
Yeah.
So, okay. So let's shift gears a little bit. So how is AI affecting your business, right? I would love to hear that.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because you seem very dialed in with hyper specific details. So we'd love to get your perspective on that.
Yeah, definitely. So I think the whole AI area is fascinating. So we've got numerous PhDs in our business, numerous machine learning engineers. So there's kind of one part which is how we utilize and embed AI into our own products, which is all around the search terms that we're buying, how we're analyzing the profitability, how we're doing all this complex lifting around understanding semantics and search patterns and other trends as well. So there's all that kind of running internally, and there's also then how we're using existing kind of how we're embedding. So we kind of have a work on OKR system, so objectives and key results. And one of our objectives across the business, across all departments, is let's embed and let's utilize existing AI tools, whether that's Chat Jupiter for content creation, for SEO, whether for sales. Let's really look at how we can embed these and get more tech driven and more data driven in terms of those methodologies for other parts of the business which aren't in R&D.
Okay, I love that. Any awesome use cases that you love on the non R&D side or the non product side?
Yeah, so I think like Chat Jupiter is just phenomenal. So just using that for looking at we come up with kind of email outreach scripts, putting them through, bouncing them through, getting a few iterations. How can we make it shorter? How can we make it longer? Getting feedback. Do this in the style of Sandler, which is a Sandler sales system, or other sales systems, and kind of just rejigging those ideas, seeing what jibes. So it's great for idea generation. So you can suddenly take a really, we often have a whiteboard session talking about a new product or a product and how we position that, and then we put it through that, and we get another 10 ideas. And 7 or 8 aren't that strong, but a couple are really strong, and we just integrate that into how we do that. So yeah, really, really powerful. Also, in terms of some of the automations around LinkedIn, can be quite time intensive. So again, if there's ways we can automate those kind of things, and that's super useful as well. So yeah, it's been some interesting spaces around that for the outbound side of things. But equally, you can't. I think it's great, but it's also up there to elevate the team, to elevate the human. So, if there's mundane, time-intensive, repetitive tasks, like we just have to be smart. We have to use AI. We have to use automation to save us doing those things. And instead, we have to elevate us to be in that creative way where we're leading the strategy and not being just cranking widgets, basically.
Yeah, no, I think that's great, man. So what would you say, like, because you've done this, this is your fourth time, right? So all different kind of iterations and variations of what you're doing. What would you say is your single best strategy? And then ideally give us anywhere from 3 to 5 tactics behind it that you would use for growing a business.
Yeah, interesting. So I think it depends on what exact sector it is. So I would say in terms of strategies, I think that Outbound has a terrible reputation. Cold calling, cold emailing, like this is a dirty tactic. But actually, I think in the early days when you're bootstrapping, if you've got a great product, where do you want to put your money? Into pay per click when no one's searching for what you're doing, or actually do you want to pick up the phone and have a conversation with someone who could be an end user, hear those objections? This is why I wouldn't be interested. This is what I'm really using. It allows you to have that human to human dialogue of like, okay, why wouldn't you like this? What other solutions are you doing? How are you solving that problem? And I think in terms of the early stages, that bootstrapping, early stage of the business really helps you dial in on like what the real problem is. Whereas I think often, and I've got a lot of friends who started businesses as well, or grown companies, they can spend so long on a PowerPoint presentation or a deck or a pitch material, and they're just on their own. They're just ruminating about what they think their customers doing, how they think their customers are trying to solve the problem, rather than pick up the phone and speak to them and actually get told, they have no interest, and or obviously they are interested, and that's even better. So I think in the early stages of business, I think Outbound is so powerful. And then there's the techniques of doing that are just add value. Don't pick up the phone and try to pitch somebody. It's not an elevator pitch where you're just trying to one-sided force information, do an advertorial down the phone. It's like actually have a conversation. Hey, I wanted to talk to you because I wanted to learn if you have these problems and genuinely how you've solved them, because we're trying to solve those problems and we're speaking to businesses who have those same problems and are trying to solve them together as well. And then look to add value. So in terms of techniques, as we've grown, as we've gone from the low tens of clients to now hundreds and hundreds of clients around the world, we're able to now have a level of data which we can use to add value. So add value to at the early stage of the the nurturing. So on those calls, we can say, hey, look, I don't want to pitch you, but can I send you a white paper? Can I send you a report? Can I send you, and as we get bigger, we're able to go into more verticals and more niches. So let me tell you how similar size fashion e-commerce businesses with the problem you've just told me have actually overcome that, or why they've not been able to overcome it, why it's still a problem for them today. Can I send that through to you and just nurture that relationship? So I think like content, white papers, indexes and reports which highlight metrics which are going to be of interest to that person, it's adding value rather than just trying to look for value. I think that's a really important kind of technique to use, and whether that's through email or through cold calling or through LinkedIn, or even through gated content. I think it's so powerful to have that. And then I suppose the final one maybe from my side would be around using our customers. You mentioned in the pre-show about driving referrals, and I think that's something we've done, and it amazes me that so many companies don't do it. So firstly, we have over 50 plus case studies on the website, but they all have the company's name, the individual, and a quote from them, and their full name and their position, and the visibility of all the metrics, if they're year over year, month over month, all the insights behind it, even if they're just percentage growth, not dollars of profit and confidential information. And I think that's another thing. So often we look at our people in our sector, and they're just saying a fashion business, no insights, because they almost seems they're always worried about their, someone could contact their customers, whereas it's like, no, like be transparent and actually get your customers to elevate it. So again, the trade shows, the events we go to, we're often hosting roundtables or panel discussions, and it will be some of our team surrounded by our clients. And then yourself, if you imagine you're a retailer, you're actually hearing directly from a true customer who's actually had the same problem that they've probably got, and they've used it, overcome it, and it's just true and authentic, rather than I think people aren't leveraging the voice of their customer, getting their customer out there. And I'm not sure if it's fear or like I was chatting to someone recently, and they're like, oh, you should never, always keep your customers secret. I think it's like, certainly in England anyway, I think there's that kind of old school mentality, whereas actually it's the opposite, right? Get your customers out there, use them as your evangelists to drive that credibility and authenticity.
Yeah, I think you nailed it. It's a really good use case when you have your customers doing your selling for you. I think makes it so much simpler, right?
Yeah.
Have you integrated that referral process into like your quarterly reviews at all? Have you done anything like that?
So we've not really actually. I think there's probably probably loads of scope for how we can scale that up. So we're just kind of in terms of that side of things, we're not really driven economically on how to do that particularly. But yeah, I think there's probably a lot of untapped potential there, for sure.
Yeah, it's funny because so I think you nailed it when you're like 95% of people are not 90%. So many people just walk right by it. It's the same thing with like reviews. You have folks that are spending, I don't know, it could range, right? It could be $20,000, it could be $100,000, but there's basically relationships and trust that had to happen in order for them to continuously pay you, especially over a longer period of time. And so it's kind of like the equivalent I give it on the pipeline side. It's kind of like the equivalent of basically getting a customer, but then not trying to, cross sell, expansion sell, or anything to it, just like forgetting about it, right? It's like, so I think a lot of folks are going to move towards that more because the marketplace is so bombarded. And, as you're seeing, the number of tech tools that are coming out is just exponentially increasing every day with how democratized AI has made things. You know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
So what would you say is like, so Liam, like when we're looking, obviously I love the details you gave with a lot of passion everywhere from outbound to events. How would you, what would you say is your single biggest challenge growing the business though, right now with where you're at?
So I'd say it's actually on almost the point you were just making there, which is the expansion. So we have a really core product. We're almost a one product business really in terms of Google Shopping, this channel we've solved the problem for ourselves and then kept iterating and finding those little 1% dials that we can twist through technology, through automation, through experience, to gain those little incremental components. But that is the core product. So I think where we've struggled is when you're landing a customer, how do you expand it? And our kind of expansion as a business is that company goes international. So they have multiple logos. So we've had companies that have gone off and acquired many other businesses as part of their growth strategies, and naturally that's great because we can we can work with those partners and those new logos. They might go from the UK to America or vice versa, and that's an expansion for us. But until relatively recently, we didn't really have a suite of additional products. So what we've been able to add is is Bing, that we just kind of touched on, search ads, but still they're pretty incremental. They're kind of there's very they're small elements, and we've now been able to bring to market a new product, which is a new real core offering as well. So I think that's really exciting to be able to kind of then genuinely have something that every business should have, because even with Bing and search, they're only for a certain type of business who's looking to really scale up and has already maxed out the revenue and profitability they can unlock within Google space, within Google Shopping. So
Excellent, man. So if you could have, like, knowing what you know about ChatGPT and everything now, like what's the one solution in your revenue growth process you would love to see ChatGPT be able to do?
Yeah, in terms of our revenue process, I suppose. Yeah, how would I love to see that evolve? I suppose like conversational AI would be super cool. So where it could start to reply to emails, if it's indexed to all our own information around, the way that we sell, all our proprietary kind of information in terms of FAQs, in terms of, the ways we integrate things, so we could answer technical questions as well as, human questions. So I think that would be super cool to elevate our team to then be on video calls and in-person relationships, as opposed to the email back and forth, which can happen in terms of someone asking a technical question or asking a sales related question, where again that information is out there. There is a kind of perfect answer that could be delivered and sent, and that would just speed it up, right? I'd like to think we get there in terms of sending it, but there's probably a delay in terms of the amount of time it takes people to write it, to send it, and the back and forth it can create. So I think there's a space there in terms of really smart conversational AI, and again, that's not just email, but through things like LinkedIn or live chat support, even Slack would be pretty awesome. Yeah.
Yeah, no, that definitely makes sense. I could. There's a lot of use cases with that. So, what do you think about like the video and verbal aspect of it?
Yeah, in terms of the so we actually use Gong IO, so it's a pretty
Mhm.
popular tool, and that's pretty amazing actually. So it's sits on calls like this, on video calls, and it just feeds back information in terms of talk time, talk percentages, overused words, tonalities. So it really is a coach for the individual reps for client success, to understand what are their biases, what are the words they're overusing, what are the sayings that are maybe not as a bit repetitive, that are not as getting that desired effect, and equally what are the things that are really working, so that the rest of the team, be that client success or the sales team, can start to use as well, and learn from as well. So it adds that repeatability and insights and automation to that, as well as accountability. The calls are recorded and be shared with customers or prospects, so that they can ping that over if someone can't join a call or presentation. They're able to have that as well to share pre-sale or post as well. So it's
Yeah,
quite interesting. Yeah.
excellent, man. All right, Liam. Well, unfortunately, we're up on time, man. I loved our conversation, and I love your approach in terms of how you handle things, how you're looking at it with the business. Where can people find you? Where can they find more about Bidnamic? And then we'll wrap it up.
Yeah, absolutely. So they can find the bidnamic.com, bidnamic.com. So that's for all things Google Shopping. And also for myself personally, I'm on LinkedIn, which is Liam Patterson.
Love it, man. Well, thanks for being on the show. I enjoyed it. It was great having you on.
That's been perfect. Thank you very much. Cheers.
All right. And we will see you all on the next episode.